The rain began as a confession on Alina Thatcher's windshield, each droplet a syllable she could not say aloud. At 45 she felt like a half-erased annotation in someone else's book. Divorced, house sold, possessions stacked in the trunk. Tonight she drove the coastal highway toward a friend's spare room, pretending it was a destination, and not an exile. The fuel warning light sliced through her self-deception. She exited onto a forgotten service road, tires hissing over puddles, and rolled beneath the flicker of a lone gas station sign. Fluorescent tubes buzzed, insects orbiting their sterile glow. The office door hung ajar, Marvin Gaye playing somewhere. In the gloom, he emerged from behind a shelf of motor oil, tall rain-damp eyes, the gray of oncoming storms. A charcoal sweater clung to broad shoulders. His hair curled where water touched it. When he spoke, the syllables seemed warmed before. They reached her. "Pumps on," he said. "Lost, or just running on fumes?" "Both," she admitted, stepping from the car. The cold slid instantly under her jacket. "Is there a motel near Avalon Pier? My GPS quit." He glanced toward the highway. "Bridge flooded. You'll need the Ridgeway detour." He held her gaze a heartbeat longer than necessary, as if confirming. She was real. "Come inside. Maps dry. Coffee's cheap." The station smelled of wet pine and burnt espresso. He introduced himself as Michael Crane, mechanic caretaker, since his father died last winter. He unfolded a paper map on the counter, their heads bent close, shoulders almost brushing. His fingertip traced a looping line through dark forest. Roads, the pencil's woodsy scent mixed with the faint spice of his cologne. Lightning flickered, killing the overhead light for 3 breaths. In the lantern glow, Alina saw a clay statue on the back shelf. A woman kneeling, face upturned, yearning. "Captured and fired earth. Yours?" she asked. "My first attempt at courage," he said. "Clay forgives what marble doesn't." Her laughter came out softer than she remembered it could be. "Archive work doesn't leave room for sculpture. I handle other people's stories, never my own." Thunder shook the roof. Michael refilled the coffee pot. Simple gestures, somehow intimate. Steam curled between them, carrying the smell of dark roast and unspoken things. He slid a mug toward her. Their fingers grazed a spark beneath politeness. "Alina," he began, testing her name, "are you driving toward something, or away from it?" The question pierced like cool metal. She exhaled through the truth. "Away for now. Maybe the road circles back to toward." He nodded with an understanding that felt older than either of them. Detours rewrite destinations. Alina felt her throat tighten. Mark, her ex-husband, had once joked that life was a train timetable. Arrive, depart, never wander. She had followed his straight lines until they became rails around her heart. Signing the papers was supposed to feel like freedom. It felt instead like boarding a vessel without a compass. Michael poured more coffee, the gesture almost protective. "My fiancé used to sketch every morning before dawn," he admitted. Said darkness sharpened the lines. He cleared his throat. "She left for Chicago last fall. I still expect to see charcoal smears on the sink some mornings." The confession hovered, lit by regret and something gentler, acceptance. Perhaps drawn by shared absence, Alina stepped toward the clay figure. Up close she saw fingerprints frozen in terracotta, each ridge a private geography. "Your hands leave maps, too," she whispered, tracing the air above the statue's uplifted arms. Her voice sounded like someone else's bravery. He approached, beside her, shoulders brushing. "She's reaching for something she's not sure she deserves," he said. "I stopped touching the clay once I recognized that." His breath stirred a strand of Alina's hair. Neither moved. The old building creaked, settling. Alina became acutely aware of the distance between pulse beats, of the possibility that the floorboards were not the only thing shifting beneath them. A wind gust rattled the metal roof, punctuating the thought. Storms change landscapes, but they also carve new inlets where light can collect. Outside, rain unleashed its artillery. Inside, silence stitched itself with heartbeats. She noticed how the lamplight framed his face, how loneliness sat on his shoulders like familiar luggage. The recognition was dangerous, because it mirrored her own. He broke the hush. "Couch in the office is dry. Ridgeway gets mean after midnight. You trust strangers that easily, she asked. Only at thresholds. He smiled, a small regret-shadowed thing. Places between what was and what might be demand mercy. She should have declined. Instead, she said, maybe I'll stay until the rain forgets my name. The words tasted bold, reckless, almost young. They talked as the storm emptied its pockets. Favorite midnight songs, the weight of inheritances, the dumb bravery of starting over at 40. Each confession felt illicit yet inevitable. To drifters sharing a lifeboat no one else could see. At 11:30, the power returned, glaring and bright. Reality re-entered, awkward in the doorway. Alina wrapped her hands around the mug, absorbing its fleeting warmth. Michael rested against the counter, watching her the way one watches a lighthouse from a battered deck. Hopeful. Because drowning is boring, he asked, softly. If tonight ended here, what would you remember? She answered. Before fear vetoed honesty, that someone listened like my story mattered. His jaw tightened, like holding back some reckless tide. He reached for the map, then paused, eyes locked on hers. The road is open again. Invitation or escape, she could not tell which hung heavier between them. She imagined stepping into the night alone, headlights carving tunnels through cedar. She imagined the thin office couch, the audible pulse of proximity, the forbidden relief of human skin against emptiness. The choices braided together, one strand bright, one dark, both trembling in her hands. Outside, the storm exhaled, but inside, them new weather patterns brewed, delicate yet undeniable, begging interpretation. Alina folds the map once, meaning to leave, yet her fingers hesitate. Outside, the downpour has thinned to a silver drizzle, but thunder still grumbles behind the dunes. She exhales. All right. The office couch until dawn. Relief loosens Michael's shoulders. He kills half the harsh lights, letting the room settle into amber quiet. A wool blanket, cedar, and gasoline appears in his arms. Alina sits, raincoat across her knees like a barrier. Do you sculpt back here? She asks, nodding at the kneeling clay woman. In the workshop, my father's place. He pauses, as though offering a riddle. Want to see? Logic says no. Her pulse says yes. She follows him down a corridor, lit only by exit signs, past crates of spark plugs and silent bottles of antifreeze. The workshop door sighs open. Lamplight spills over half-finished torsos, scarred benches, drifting red dust. The air tastes of kill-baked promises. Michael lifts a canvas sheet from a life-size bust, eyes shut, lips parted, as if waiting to breathe. Under the lamp, the clay looks bruised. Someone you know, she whispers. Someone I almost became. She brushes knuckles along the sculpture's cheek. The clay is cool, receptive. Michael's gaze lingers on her hand. Warmth blooms between them. He steps closer. You touch things like you archive them, careful, afraid to leave marks. Marks change history, she answers. Maybe they are history. A hush swells, thick with possibility. She feels the scent of rain in his sweater, her own pulse climbing her throat. Longing hears trespass. Show me, she murmurs. He presses a lump of clay into her palms, cold, alive. His hands cover hers, guiding thumbs inward. Together they coax a small bowl, walls thin as hope. When it stands, he lets go, but her skin remembers. Fire it tomorrow, he says. Tomorrow feels perilous. She wipes clay off. He offers a rag. Their eyes refuse to part. Back in the office, she curls on the couch. Michael dims the final lamp, yet pauses at the door. I'll lock up, you're safe. Sleep comes in scraps, rising water, his face half lit, half shadow. She wakes to a crash gray dawn piercing the blinds. Michael kneels by a shattered window. A storm-snapped branch lies across broken glass, rain pooling on tile. You hurt, I'm fine. Blood beads on his palm. Instinct overrides caution. She cleans the cut, wraps gauze. His eyes hold hers the entire time. Thank you, he whispers. Outside, gulls twist over a freshly rinsed sky. The Ridgeway detour. She asks. Closed landslide, Avalon's cut off till midday. So I stay, she says. So you stay, he echoes. No cell signal. A diner 2 miles up Old Orchard Road has a landline. He suggests walking. They set out, gravel crunching. Mist clings to cedars. The world smells rinsed. Conversation drifts to midnight songs, and the way silence can wound. At a creek, they find the bridge gone. Water roaring. Michael points to a ridge trail an hour longer. She nods. The climb is steep, ferns slap damp against denim. He offers his hand. She takes it. Halfway up he slips. She steadies him, their bodies colliding. Breathless laughter dislodging tension. I shouldn't want this, he mutters, thumb sweeping her wrist. Wanting isn't crime, she replies, voice trembling with relief and fear. Their foreheads touch. His lips brush her soft, testing. Light blossoms inside her ribs. The kiss deepens, honey warm and slow. When they part she sways. Guilt swoops in, marks careful disappointment. Michael's absent fiancée, Alina steps back. We're still on someone else's map. He nods. Detours rewrite destinations, but they cost. The trail opens onto a bluff over the sea. The diner's neon pulses below, unreachable across flooded flats. Stranded in fresh sunlight, they sit on a fallen log, inches apart. Tell me something true, she says. He studies the horizon. I kept her ring. Some nights she returns in dreams and asks if I waited. I lie and say yes. I signed divorce papers 3 weeks ago. She confesses. I still sleep on my side of the bed. Their secrets not together. From his pocket he draws a cracked compass. Dad's. When bearings fail, follow the needle. He presses it into her palm. The arrow trembles, then points inland away. Elena turns the compass over, thumb tracing the cracked glass. The steady needle feels impossibly sure when everything else in her life still spins. She imagines Michael at 15 memorizing its lessons. True north is constant, but reaching it means cutting through wilderness. Morning light gilds the stubble along his jaw. He looks older and younger all at once, carrying fresh scars and half-forgotten boyish dreams. For years she has catalogued the past into silence. Here, memory moves it burns, then kisses back. Sirens rise behind the hills, warning that time hasn't paused for their detour. Michael stands, brushing pine needles from his jeans. We should head down before the creek swells again. He says. She pockets the compass, warm now, as though absorbing her certainty, and follows him into the shade where roots and choices braid across the soil. Each step downward feels like walking deeper into permission and risk. We should go back before the creek swells, he repeats at the ridge's lip. They descend. At the final switchback, a boom reverberates. Black smoke spirals above the service station. Michael pales. The Kili left it burning. They run, hearts hammering, earth sliding under boots. Smoke claws their lungs. Explosions bloom behind like metal thunder. The compass clicks in her pocket, pointing somewhere neither of them yet understands. Smoke rolled across the service road like a dark tide, turning daylight bronze. Elena's lungs burned as she sprinted, gravel slicing through the soles of her sneakers. Michael was a blur beside her every stride, a silent plea that the station, his memories, might still be spared. They crested the final rise. Flames licked through the shattered bay windows. The roof sagged, glowing like a kiln turned inside out. Propane tanks pinged and popped in brutal percussion. Michael slowed, breath razored by panic. The workshop, he said hoarsely. Dad's tools. Your bowl. Alina grabbed his sleeve. Not worth your life. But he was already moving, weaving through sparks to the side door. An iron beam had caved, blocking the entrance. The heat hit like a shove, paint blistered and curled. Alina hauled on his arm, forcing him back as another explosion punched the sky. Shards of crimson glass rained around them. Michael's jaw trembled in a fury deeper than fear. It's everything I haven't lost yet. Not everything, she whispered, cupping his soot-streaked face. Her thumb traced the cut from dawn, now crusted dark. In that instant she understood that grief doesn't burn clean until someone risks water. Sirens wailed nearer. Volunteer engines screeched onto the lot, men and women leaping with hoses. Elena tugged Michael behind a rusted pickup, shielding him as pressurized torrents hammered the blaze. Steam rose, sudden and violent, like ghosts protesting eviction. Minutes blurred into mist. A firefighter finally approached, helmet visor streaked with condensation. Area's secure. Ambulance can check that cut. Michael shook his head. What's left inside? Smoldering rubble. The man replied gently. Better stand clear. By noon, the fire was a carcass, steaming under coastal sun. The office couch lay charred, springs exposed like broken ribs. The clay statue had collapsed, limbs melted into an unrecognizable mound. Michael crouched beside it, sifting warm shards through shaking fingers. Alina knelt too. Fingerprints are still there, she murmured. They just changed shape. He gave a shaky laugh that cracked halfway. Detours rewrite destinations, he echoed, voice raw. Maybe even the maps. From the ashes, he unearthed her small clay bowl, rim scorched but intact. He turned it over, weight light yet stubbornly whole, and placed it in her hands. Proof that beginnings can survive endings. The ambulance finally insisted on bandaging his deeper burns. Alina stood outside while paramedics worked, clutching the bowl like a relic. Blackened rain clouds drifted inland. Gulls screamed in the hush after crisis. When Michael emerged, both wrists wrapped in white gauze, she felt a rush of tenderness, dangerously close to surrender. He tried flexing his hands, artist's hands temporarily disarmed. She tucked stray curls behind his ear. You saved more than you lost, she said. Because you pulled me back. Silence feathered between them, ripe with choices they had no language for. The county inspector arrived at 2, clipboard in hand, face set for bad news. Electrical fault, he said. Rebuild permits could take months, maybe years, with flood revisions. Michael listened, body rigid, but there was a strange calm in his eyes, like a man standing on new earth after an earthquake. Alina found herself mapping to diverging futures. One where she drove on, bull seat belted beside her compass, needle pointing anywhere but here. And one where she stayed to help sift nails from cinders, to blueprint something fierce and alive. The thought thrilled and frightened her in equal measure. She stepped away, dialing her friend near Avalon. Voicemail. Wind toyed with the frayed edge of her jacket. She flipped open, the compass still cracked, still certain. The needle spun once, then settled toward the horizon, and toward Michael, shoulders squared against loss he refused to let win. Loneliness isn't just absence, she realized. It's the persistence of love with nowhere to land. Maybe directions were never about roads. Maybe they were invitations to arrive inside someone's uncharted grief and call it home. Evening painted the wreckage amber. Firefighters left, engines groaning into distance. Michael dragged 2 surviving stools from under a half-collapsed awning. They sat amid ruin, dusk breeze humming through twisted sheet metal. I don't know what happens next, he admitted. Insurance, inspectors, winter storms, too many fights for 2 hands wrapped in gauze. You have 4 hands, she corrected softly. At least until I figure out where I'm really heading. His smile was small, incredulous. You'd stay. I owe the universe 1 rebuilt map, she said, and you owe me a sculpture lesson. The embers in his eyes flared hope, tempered by caution. There will be gossip if a stranger sleeps on the office couch. Then build me a wall, she teased, heart thundering. I catalog stories, remember. Privacy is an archival specialty. He laughed, low and startled, as though discovering new muscles for joy. The sound pulled her closer, then touched. Night settled, cool and clear. They pitched an old army tent behind the station, canvas smelling of turpentine and thyme. Lantern light fluttered across their faces. Inside, blankets fanned a shared warmth. Alina traced the gauze on his wrist. Hurts not as much as it should. He studied her in the golden hush. I keep waiting for regret, but it's quieter than I feared. She brushed her lips against the pulse there. Regret knows when it's outmatched. Soft thunder rumbled far offshore. Rain would come again, but not tonight. Their kiss deepened slow, mindful. Every breath a newly poured foundation. There was heat, yes, and hunger, but also a reverence. That made the space inside the tent feel vaulted, like a chapel built of hush and heartbeat. Clothes loosened, not torn. Skin met skin with the restraint of people who had learned loss could strike mid-sentence. She felt each sigh as a brick laid where loneliness once echoed. His hands, awkward bandaged, still learned the curve of her shoulder, the line of her spine. as if sculpting memory that would not collapse. When they finally rested, limbs tangled, lantern sputtering low, Alina realized she was not afraid of morning. Boldness, she thought, is simply trusting that dawn will honor what night dared. She woke before sunrise to the salt-tinged hush of coastal air. Michael slept beside her, one arm draped across the clay bowl she had tucked between their paxa. Fragile, packed, rays of pastel pink crept under the canvas flap. She slipped from blankets, stepping outside barefoot. The station looked skeletal in dawnlight, but the silhouette no longer terrorized her. It was a beginning, stripped of pretense. She knelt on the debris-dusted ground, scooped a handful of cool red clay, and rolled it between her palms. A small sphere formed perfectly imperfect. She set it on the hood of her car to dry. A seed, she decided. Every story needed one. Michael emerged, hair wild, grin shy. He followed her gaze to the clay bead. Your first solo piece. Courage in miniature, she said. He slid the cracked compass into her hand. Keep it. Bearings will fail again. This reminds us they can be found. She closed his fingers around the bowl instead. Fire it when the new kill stands. Proof. We were here at the start. Their foreheads touched, breath mingling with the gulls' cries. Neither said goodbye. Detour cell down though she climbed into the car, engine rumbling awake. Michael stepped back, a silhouette framed by embers and emerging light. She turned onto the highway, windshield glittering with the day's first tears of dew dot in the rear view. The ruined station dwindled, but the column of hope above it rose, invisible yet undeniable. The compass on the passenger seat twitched southeastward, Avalon Pier toward whatever waited. But Alina understood now. True north wasn't a direction, it was a decision, and somewhere behind her, a man with bandaged hands would rebuild a workshop, fire a delicate bowl, and perhaps sculpt a clay woman, no longer pleading to be loved, only daring to. The road unfurled, wet and shining, and for the first time in years, Alina drove not away, nor even toward, but with. She was a moving point on a freshly drawn map, the ink still drying. Every mile a new contour of possibility, beneath the hum of tires and the sigh of recovering earth. She heard Michael's final words before she left, quiet, certain, irrevocable. Detours aren't accidents, Alina, they're invitations. She pressed the accelerator, heart answering the call, ready for all the uncharted country still to come.